Hello, in this video we're going to focus on week 2 handouts. So if you still remember, I have asked you to read the research article, which is divided into the introduction parts, the research methods, and the research results. So now we will take a look at it, starting with the introduction part. So when you are writing an introduction part of the research, you might need to follow these 3 moves. First, you're going to establish the research area. So you're going to tell your audience or the readers why your research area is important, why is it interesting, why is it worth doing something about. And then you're going to establish a gap. You're going to indicate the gap in the research area, or you might talk about the problem that needs to be solved or needs to be done. And then you're going to occupying the gap. So you're going to outline the purpose of your study, or you're going to talk about your research questions or your research hypothesis. On the next page are the sample sentences that you can use for each move of the introduction part. We actually talk about it in the video, so I'm going to skip it. Now, we are going to focus on the research itself. The title of the research is called The Use of a Writing Website in an English for Academic Purposes course. So here is the introduction part. There are 10 sentences in the introduction part. So I have asked you to read the introduction part and identify which sentence showing important, which sentence talking about literature, which sentence indicating the gap, and which sentence outlining the purpose of the study. So here are the answer keys for the introduction part, but I would like to go through each sentence with you. So first, the first sentence, during the past 10 years, the availability of computer in educational institutions has increased dramatically. So here, the writer used the words increase dramatically to show the importance of the computer. And next, progress in computer development has been made to the point that powerful, inexpensive computers with large capacity are available in many classrooms and libraries for student use. So here, the writer is also showing importance of the computer at the educational level. And next, many students also have purchased computer for their own use. So in this sentence, the writer talk about the importance of computer at the personal levels because a lot of students now have their own computer. So these 3 sentences are used to show importance. And the next sentence, sentence number 4, most studies seem to agree that the computer will continue to hold an important role in education in the future. So the keywords here, an important role in education, show the importance of the computer. But again, we have the words called most study. So most study actually refer to the previous research. So here I would say that you can say that the fourth sentence can be used both as a review of literatures and showing importance. Next, we are going to talk about the next 3 sentences, sentence 5, 6, and 7. All of these sentences talk about previous research, so they are showing reviewing the literature. So the writer talk about the research done by James or Smith or by Shaw. So these are the previous research about the importance of computer in education. And next, sentence 8. A wide range of computer programs are now therefore available in all these areas for individuals and classroom use. So here, number 8, sentence number 8 talk about a large numbers of computer software, a large number of computer programs. So here again, the sentence is used to show importance of the computer. Next, however, even though many studies has reported an increased use of computer in education, there has been very little research reported on the effectiveness of such use. So here we have the keyword however and very little research to show the contrast, to show that there is a lack of something, that there is the inadequacy in the research area. So here we use this sentence to indicate the gap in the research area. And then the last sentence, the purpose of the present study is therefore to ascertain the effectiveness of using computer-assisted instructions as compared to traditional classroom instruction in an EAP writing class. So this sentence 10, is used to outline the purpose of the study. So now we are going to move on to the research method section. In the research method sections, we're talking about different elements that can be included in the research method. So we can talk about the overview of the experiment, which is a short summary of the research itself. And then we are talk about the population, the samples of the study, research participants, and we talk about sampling technique, how the researcher selected the participants, and the procedure or the process of the research, how the researcher conduct the research. And also we have to include the materials or the research tools. And then when you analyze the data, you might need a statistical treatment. And below are the example sentences that you can use to describe each element in the research method. So start with the first one. The research instruments are questionnaire, interview, and classroom observations. Here, the sentence is used to talk about materials, research tools. And next, the research participants are 50 first-year management majors and are chosen by simple random technique. So here we have both the populations and the sampling technique in one sentence. Again, with sentence number 3, 467 principals and teachers were selected by using both stratified random sampling. So here we also talk about the population samples and talking about the sampling technique. Next, sentence number 4, the obtained data were analyzed by means of arithmetic mean and standard deviation. Here we are talking about statistical treatment. And last sentence I have actually deleted because even though it talk about sample size, it basically talk about the limitation of the study, and it should not be included in this section. It should be in the discussion section, so my apology. Next, we are going to move on to the research method. Okay, so there are 12 sentences here, and I have asked you to read these research method sections and identify which statement show overview, which statement talk about populations, sampling technique, procedures, materials, and statistical treatment. So here's are the answer key for all the research method section. But now we are going to look at each sentence together. First, two groups of international students on a one-year pre-master English for academic purposes course, each comprising 50 students, will taught academic writing by different methods and compare. So here, we know it's about the research samples. We also know it's about the research method. So this sentence is used to show the overviews of the experiment. The next sentence, in each group, there were 50 students from 5 different academic departments: computer science, business, engineering, life science, and law. So here we talk about research participants or research samples. The next sentence, the subject was selected from the 250 students on the International Bridging Program on the basics of performance at a satisfactory levels in the Semester A examinations. The keywords here were selected. So we know that the participant was selected from 250 students. So this sentence is used to talk about sampling technique. And the next sentence, students who has performed below the minimum levels on the Semester A examination were excluded. So here, the fourth sentence is talking about the number of students who are not selected. So here we're still talking about sampling technique. We talk about students that we select and students that we did not select. On the next sentence, the criteria was employed to ensure competent understanding of the task and adequate motivation. So this sentence gives a reason why the researcher used a test score to select the participants. So again, the third, fourth, and fifth sentence are all talking about sampling technique. The next two sentences, sentence 6 and 7, talk about the control group and the experiment group between group A and group B. So here, group A. Group A studied English writing in the traditional way in a class with a teacher for 2 hours each week in a classroom for 12 weeks and was supplemented with written homework assignment given by the teacher each week. And then we read about Group B. Group B met together in a class with a teacher for only 1 hour per week for 12 weeks and were assigned a homework task of spending 1 hour per week doing exercise from the writing website. So these two sentences talk about the two groups of students and how they were taught. They were taught differently by different methods. So here we're talking about the procedure of the research. Next, the test instruments employed in this study was a revised version of the University of Hertfordshire English language writing test. So here the keyword is the test instrument. So we're talking about the materials or the research tool. So the research tool is English language writing test. On the next sentence, it consists of an academic reading text and comprehension questions, followed by a discursive essays on the subjects of the reading text. So here, refer to the English language writing test. So we're still talking about the materials or the research tool. Next, both Group A and B were given the same written examination at the end of the semester. So this sentence now talking about the procedure. So after we divide the student into groups, and each group were taught differently for 12 weeks. So after the 12 weeks, the same group of students were given the same written exam. So this we talking about the procedures of the research. And next, the tests were marked using the following criteria, following category: task achievement, communicative quality, organization, idea, content and relevance, and grammar and vocabulary. So we're still talking about the research too. And the last sentence, a 3x5 analysis of variance was used to test for the academic department, method of teaching, and language achievement differences. Here we're talking about the statistical treatment. So these are all the answer key for the research method. Now we're going to move on to the research result. So in the research results, I have asked you to read these 5 sentences and identify which sentence talking about the overviews of the study, which sentence showing where the results can be found, and which sentence presenting the most important finding, which sentence commenting on the result. Okay, so here's the answer key for the results. So we're going to look at each sentence together. So two groups of students in higher education, Group A and Group B, on a 1-year pre-master English for academic purposes course, each comprising 50 students were taught academic writing by different methods and compare. So here we're talking about the overview of the study. And next, Figure 3 displays the mean percentile scores on the 5 subsections of the academic writing test. So Figure 3 actually talk about where can you find the result. And then the next sentence, students in Group B, which use the computer-assisted facility, perform considerably better than the non-computer assisted peer on all 5 subsections of the test by more than 2 to 1 in terms of score, attained in each of the subcategory. So here, is the statement that shows the most important finding that student B, group B, perform much better than student in group A in all subcategories. And next, for examples, in the task achievement subcategory, here, group B score an average of 80%, while group A students score an average of 17%. So here we're still talking about the most important finding of the research study. Next, this suggests that the use of computer-assisted learning program for at least some of the teaching time available can be recommended for EAP writing course. So here, the word recommended talking about giving a comment on the research result. So here's are the answer keys of introduction part, research methods, and research results. And then this is the PowerPoint slide, supposed to be a PowerPoint slide. I have asked you to pretend that you are going to give a mini research based on this study. And I have asked you to prepare the PowerPoint slide for each part of the presentation. I have divided the PowerPoint slide into the purpose of the study and the research method and the results. So once you read all the article, then you can go back and select the sentence that you would like to be in each part of the presentation. So here we have the sentence that talk about the purpose of the study. The purpose of the present study is therefore to ascertain the effectiveness of using computer-assisted instructions as compared to traditional classroom instruction in an EAP writing class. So we took sentence number 10 from the introduction part and put it in the purpose of the study. And then we have the research method. So we can go back to the reading text and select the sentence that talk about samples, sample technique, research tools, and the procedure. So you can take the sentence and write it down in the bullet point like this. And next is the result. So we can go back to the result sections and then pick the most important finding of the results and put it in your PowerPoint slide. So thank you. These are all the answer key for week 2. So see you in the next video.